Hello, and welcome back to the English Pod community. I'm your host, Natasha. If you're new here, let me tell you what this channel is all about. Every day, we upload new English learning podcasts to help you improve your speaking, listening, and writing skills. In today's episode, we're focusing on real-life stories that can help you learn how to handle unexpected problems in daily life. These stories are full of useful vocabulary, common expressions, and everyday situations that will help you become more confident in English. By listening closely and thinking about how you would react in the same situations, you'll naturally improve your listening and writing. You can even try writing short answers or summaries after the episode to practice your writing skills. And if you enjoy learning with us, don't forget to press the like button to support the channel. Let's begin. Last week, I spoke with Daniel, a delivery driver from Texas. He shared a story about something that happened on a rainy Monday morning. He was already running late for a delivery, and just as he turned onto the main road, his truck's front tire went flat. He pulled over quickly and checked it. Yes, it was completely flat. Daniel didn't panic. He called the warehouse to let them know he would be late. Then he used his tools to start changing the tire in the rain. But halfway through, he realized the spare tire was also low on air. He said, "I just stood there for a second getting soaked, wondering what to do." So what did he do next? Daniel remembered that 2 blocks away there was a small gas station with an air pump. He locked the truck, took the spare tire, and walked through the rain to fill it. He said the walk felt like forever, but finally, he got the tire filled and came back to fix it. He was late for the delivery, but the customer understood. Daniel told me something interesting. He said, "I used to get angry at small problems, but now I try to just solve them. Anger wastes time. Calm thinking saves it." That story stuck with me because it reminded me of something that happened to my husband and me last month. We were driving to a family gathering when suddenly our GPS stopped working. We were in the middle of a town we didn't know very well. My first thought was, "Oh no, we're lost." But instead of panicking, we pulled over, took a deep breath, and asked a man at a small grocery shop for directions. He was kind and helped us find a quicker route. These small situations teach us something very important. Problems will always happen, but the way we respond matters more than the problem itself. Let me tell you another story. This one is about Amina, a teacher who moved to a new city for work. On her first day at school, she wore her best clothes, carried her lesson plans, and arrived early. But when she got to the school, the gate was locked. She looked around and realized she had come to the wrong campus. She had only 20 minutes before class started. She quickly searched online, found the correct address, and called a taxi. She arrived just in time, slightly out of breath but still smiling. Her students never knew how stressful her morning had been. She laughed while telling me the story, saying, "Now I double-check the address every single time." These kinds of stories are great for learning English because they use common words and situations. You hear real feelings, simple actions, and everyday decisions. You can even try repeating the sentences to practice speaking. Now imagine you are in one of these situations. What would you do if your phone battery died while you were trying to find an address? Or if the power went out just before you finished cooking dinner for your guests? Thinking in English about these moments helps you become more prepared. Let me share a quick story about Khalid, a father of 2. One morning, he was getting his kids ready for school when he realized their school bags were still in the car, and he had accidentally locked the keys inside. Instead of getting angry, he calmly called his neighbor, who had a tool to help open car doors. Within 10 minutes, the problem was solved. Khalid told me later, "I used to think being calm was a weakness, but it's actually the strongest thing you can be when things go wrong." These moments are powerful, not just in real life, but also in learning English. You hear how people explain their problems, what they say when they're surprised, and how they speak politely even under pressure. Let me tell you about Sarah, a nurse. She was at the hospital during a night shift when suddenly the power went out for a few seconds. All the machines beeped, the lights blinked, and everything stopped. For a moment, everyone froze. But Sarah quickly turned on her flashlight, checked the nearest patient, and helped her team stay calm until the backup generator kicked in. A few days ago, I spoke with Hassan, a shop owner who runs a small grocery store in his neighborhood. One day, just before opening, he noticed water on the floor near the refrigerator. At first, he thought someone had spilled something, but when he opened the fridge, he saw that it wasn't working. The motor had stopped during the night, and all the milk and frozen items were warm. He told me, "I felt upset because that meant I would lose money, but I didn't have time to sit and feel bad. I had to act fast." Hassan quickly called a repair technician, and while he waited, he moved the good items to a neighbor's freezer to keep them cold. Then he wrote a note for customers explaining that some items were not available that day. Instead of losing the whole day, Hassan kept the store open, helped his customers with what he had, and solved the problem step by step. That kind of problem-solving mindset is something we can all learn from. It's also a great way to learn useful English expressions like act fast, keep the store open, and move things quickly. When you hear these expressions in real stories, they become easier to remember. Try to say them out loud with me now. Act fast. Keep the store open. Solve the problem. These are all things you can say in your own life when something unexpected happens. Another helpful story comes from Fatima, a university student. One day, she was walking to class when heavy rain started suddenly. She had no umbrella, and there was no shelter nearby. She quickly ran into a small bakery to stay dry. While waiting, she realized she could use this time to review her notes. She told me later, "Instead of being angry about the rain, I used the time to study. It actually helped me do better in class that day." That's such a smart way to use time. We can all learn to use small, unexpected moments to our advantage. And again, this story teaches real English phrases like heavy rain, stay dry, and use the time wisely. If you write them down and try to use them in your own stories, you will remember them better. Let me share one more. This one is about a man named Jamal who works as a carpenter. He was building a wooden table for a customer. After 3 days of work, just as he was putting the final pieces together, he noticed a small crack in one of the legs. It wasn't there before, and he had no extra wood. Jamal said, "My first thought was to hide the crack, but I couldn't do that. I want my customers to trust me." So he called the customer, explained the problem honestly, and offered to rebuild that part for free. The customer respected his honesty and even gave him another order later. From this story, we learn about responsibility, honesty, and communication. Phrases like final pieces, small crack, offer to rebuild, and trust me are useful in many situations, not just for carpentry. These kinds of simple, real-life stories can teach us more than grammar books. They help us hear how English sounds in everyday speech, and they give us a chance to feel the language in action. Let's try something together. Think about a small problem you had this week. Maybe you forgot something at home or got stuck in traffic. Now try to describe it in English. Say it out loud like this. "This week, I forgot my lunch at home. I was already at work. I had to think quickly. I asked my coworker if I could share her food. She said yes, and I thanked her." This is how you can practice both listening and speaking. You hear the structure, Then try to use the same kind of sentences yourself. This will make your English stronger and more natural. I want to tell you a longer story now, and this one comes from a man named Yusuf. He lives in a small town and works as a school bus driver. One morning, while driving to pick up the children, something unusual happened. As he reached a quiet road near the hills, he noticed smoke coming from the engine. He stopped the bus immediately and turned off the engine. He stepped out, opened the front hood, and saw that one of the wires had melted. It wasn't a fire, but it could have become dangerous if he had kept driving. There were no children on the bus yet, but he knew he had a job to do. He had to find a safe way to fix the problem and also make sure the students wouldn't be left waiting. He called the school and explained everything. The school thanked him for being careful and sent another bus to pick up the children. While waiting, Yusuf didn't just sit and do nothing. He stood by the bus, waved to parents as they drove by, and kept an eye on the road. When the mechanic arrived, they quickly fixed the wire and tested the engine. Later that day, this story shows us many useful English phrases. Turned off the engine, opened the hood, called the school, sent another bus, and tested the engine. All of these are real actions that can help you build your vocabulary. Now, let me share another experience. This one is from Layla, a woman who runs a small food stall in the market. She makes fresh bread and tea every morning. One Friday, she woke up early as usual, but she found out that her gas stove wasn't working. She couldn't cook anything. The market was already starting to get busy, and she knew she had to act fast. Instead of giving up, she quickly thought of a plan. She called her neighbor, who also runs a tea stall. She asked kindly if she could use his stove just for 1 hour. He agreed. Layla carried her dough and ingredients to his place and started cooking there. She worked quickly, thanked him, and was still able to open her stall on time. Her customers didn't even know anything had gone wrong that morning. Layla said later, "I believe when we help each other, everyone succeeds." This kind of story not only teaches kindness and problem solving, but also helps us practice English with phrases like act fast, use the stove, carry, ingredients, open on time, and help each other. Imagine you're in Layla's place. What would you say in English if you needed to borrow something? You could say, "Excuse me, can I please use your stove for a short time?" Or, "My stove isn't working. Can you help me, please?" These are polite and useful sentences that you can remember and use in many different situations. Let's take another example. This time it's about a man named Bilal. He is a father of 3 and works in an office. One morning, while getting ready for work, his youngest son spilled juice on his shirt. Bilal didn't get angry. He smiled, changed his shirt, and helped clean the floor. He said, "These things happen. Children don't mean to make mistakes." Then on the way to work, he got stuck in traffic. It looked like he would be late. So he used his hands-free phone to call his boss and say, "Good morning, I'm stuck in traffic. I might be a few minutes late." His boss appreciated the call and said, "No problem, drive safely." Bilal arrived just 10 minutes late and was able to finish all his work for the day. This story is simple, but it teaches useful expressions like spilled juice, change my shirt, call my boss, stuck in traffic, and drive safely. And there's another important point. Even when the day starts with small problems, how we react can change everything. Bilal stayed calm, stayed polite, and still had a successful day. That's something we all can learn from. Now, here's a story about a woman named Aisha who works as a nurse in a small health center. One evening, she was getting ready to close the clinic when a man came in holding his arm. He had fallen while fixing a pipe and needed help. Aisha was tired and her shift was almost over, but she welcomed the man with a smile. She said, "Please sit down. Let me take a look." She cleaned the wound, gave him some medicine, and asked him a few simple questions to make sure there was no serious injury. The man thanked her and said, "You helped me when I didn't know where to go." Aisha replied, "We are here to help. That's what matters." Later, she told her husband, "Yes, I came home a little late, but I feel good knowing I helped someone." This story not only shows kindness and duty, but it also gives us useful English phrases like get ready to close, hold his arm, clean the wound, give medicine, and ask questions. You can use these kinds of expressions in your own English practice, especially when you talk about helping others or dealing with sudden situations. These stories show something important. Life is not always easy. Things go wrong. But when we stay calm, speak clearly, and think carefully, we can handle anything. And when we listen to these stories in English, we learn not just new words, but also how to stay strong in daily life. Let me tell you about a man named Mr. Imran. He is 45 years old and works as a post office manager in a small city. Every day he wakes up early, eats breakfast with his wife and children, and walks to the post office, which is only 10 minutes away from his home. He enjoys walking because it gives him time to think about the day ahead. He often greets the shopkeepers on his way and says, "Good morning, I hope your day goes well." One Tuesday morning, Mr. Imran reached the post office at 8 a.m., as usual. When he opened the door, he noticed something strange. The computers were not turning on. He checked the lights, and they were also off. He realized the electricity was not working. He quickly called the electric company, and they told him there was a power cut in the area. The electricity might not come back for 2 or 3 hours. Now here was the problem. People would come to the post office soon to send packages, collect letters, and pay bills. But without electricity, Mr. Imran could not use the computers, printers, or online systems. He could not print receipts or check information in the database. Many people depend on the post office every day, especially the elderly and those who live in villages nearby. So, what did he do? Mr. Imran didn't panic. Instead, he took out a notebook and a pen from his drawer. Then he placed a chair near the entrance and sat outside the post office. When the first customer arrived, a man named Rahman, Mr. Imran smiled and said, "Good morning. The electricity is gone, but I will still help you." Rahman said he wanted to send a package to his cousin in another city. Mr. Imran took the details by hand. He wrote the name, address, phone number, and package weight in his notebook. Then he carefully placed the package in a box behind the counter. One by one, other people came. A mother came with her 2 children to collect a letter from her husband, who works in another country. An old man came to pay his water bill. A young student came to send documents to his university. Mr. Imran greeted each person kindly and said, "Please wait a few minutes. I will write everything by hand." He didn't complain. He didn't send people away. He worked slowly and carefully. After 2 hours, the power finally returned. He smiled, stood up, and said, "Alhamdulillah, now we can continue with full service." He went inside, turned on the computers, and started entering the handwritten notes into the system. By the end of the day, the post office was clean, all packages were recorded, all bills were processed, and every customer was happy. Mr. Imran was tired, but he was proud. That evening, his wife asked him, "How was your day?" He smiled and said, "Busy, but beautiful. I helped many people, and I didn't stop, even when things were difficult." Now let's look at the many useful English phrases from this story. There was a power cut. He greeted the shopkeepers. He wrote the details by hand. Done, he took out a notebook and a pen. He placed a chair near the entrance. One by one, other people came. He didn't complain. He didn't stop. After 2 hours, the power finally returned. He worked slowly and carefully. He entered the notes into the system. All of these phrases can help you speak about real situations at work, in public places, or when things go wrong. You can also use these phrases to describe your own daily life. Try saying this sentence. Today there was a power cut, but I continued my work using paper and pen. That is a full, natural sentence in English, and it's clear, respectful, and easy to understand. Let's now go to another story, one that teaches a different lesson. This time the story is about a woman named Sister Miriam who lives in a small village with her husband and 3 children. She runs a home bakery and makes fresh bread, samosas, and small cakes. People from her village often come to her house in the morning to buy food for breakfast. Miriam is known not only for her delicious food but also for her kindness and honesty. One day, a new family moved to the village. They came from a different city and didn't know anyone yet. The mother of the new family, whose name was Rabia, came to Miriam's house to buy some bread. She said, "I'm new here. I don't know the shops well yet." Miriam smiled warmly and said that small act of kindness made Rabia feel safe and welcomed. She sat down, talked with Miriam for a few minutes, and learned about other places in the village, like the clinic, the school, and the nearest mosque. Miriam also gave her a small gift, a piece of cake for Rabia's children. From that day, Rabia became one of Miriam's regular customers. She told other people about Miriam's kindness, and soon Miriam's bakery became more popular than before. But Miriam never changed. She didn't raise her prices. She always said, "What Allah gives me is enough." This story gives you many new words and expressions you can use. A new family moved to the village. She bought some bread. She didn't know the shops well. "Please sit, I'll prepare some tea." A small act of kindness. She became a regular customer. She told other people about the bakery. She didn't raise her prices. Think about how you can use these expressions in your own English. Try speaking out loud. I met someone new today. I said, "Please come inside." I made tea and gave them food. This is how real English sounds when you tell a story politely and naturally. Now let me share a story that many people can relate to. This is about a young man named Ahmed. He works in a government office where people come to apply for documents. One morning, an elderly woman came in. She was nervous and didn't understand how to fill out the forms. Some people behind her were getting impatient, but Ahmed didn't rush her. He said, "Don't worry, I'm here to help you." He walked her through the form step by step. He said, "Please write your full name here." Then he said, "Your date of birth goes here." He even offered her a glass of water because she looked tired. When she finished, she smiled and said, "Thank you, son. You made it easy for me." Ahmed felt happy because he had made someone's day better with just a little time and patience. And do you know what happened next? Another customer, who saw how kindly Ahmed helped the woman, came forward and said, "I wish more people were like you." Ahmed didn't do anything big or difficult. He simply showed good manners, respect, and a soft voice. These are powerful tools in any language. Let me now tell you about a story from a small town where a man named Brother Yusuf lives with his wife and 4 children. Yusuf works as a carpenter. He builds furniture, like beds, chairs, tables, and cupboards, using wood. He learned this skill from his father when he was a teenager. Now, many people in the town respect him because of his honest work and good manners. Every day, Yusuf wakes up at 6 o'clock. After Fajr prayer, he drinks tea with his wife, Sister Amina, and they talk about the day. Then he walks to his small workshop. The workshop is not very big, but it is always clean and full of tools. There are hammers, saws, nails, measuring, tape, wood glue, and many kinds of wood. Yusuf is very careful with his work. He always says, if you do something, do it well. One morning, he received a visit from a man named Mr. Idris, who had just moved to the area with his wife and baby daughter. Mr. Idris said, "I need a baby bed for my daughter, something safe, simple, and strong." Yusuf smiled and said, Of course. Come inside. Let me show you some wood samples." They sat together in the workshop, looked at different wood types, and discussed designs. Yusuf said, "For a baby, I suggest soft corners and natural wood. No paint. It's safer." Mr. Idris liked the idea. He said, "Yes, something natural is good for my daughter. Please make it simple and strong." Yusuf promised, "Give me 5 days. I'll call you when it's ready." For the next 5 days, Yusuf worked carefully on the baby bed. He measured everything twice. He sanded the wood so it would be smooth. He used only safe, clean materials. His wife Amina would often bring him tea and lunch while he worked. Sometimes she would also help him by holding parts of the wood while he fixed the pieces together. On the 5th day, Yusuf finished the bed. It was beautiful, simple, but strong and safe. He called Mr. Idris and said, "Your baby's bed is ready. You may come and see it." When Mr. Idris and his wife arrived and saw the bed, they smiled with joy. His wife said, "This is exactly what we wanted. Thank you for your hard work." Yusuf said, "This is made with care. I hope your daughter sleeps peacefully in it." Now listen to some useful phrases from this story. Let me show you some wood samples. I need a baby bed. Something safe, simple, and strong. If you do something, do it well. Give me 5 days. I'll call you when it's ready. He measured everything twice. He sanded the wood so it would be smooth. This is made with care. Let's keep going with another long and realistic story that will help you practice English listening and improve your writing as well. In this next part, we will travel to a small town in the United States called Springfield, located in the state of Ohio. It's a peaceful town where people know each other and most live simple lives. In this town, there is a man named Daniel. He is a bus driver. Every weekday morning, Daniel wakes up at 5:30 a.m. He makes a cup of black coffee, eats toast with peanut butter, and leaves his home by 6 a.m. He wears a dark blue uniform and a warm smile. Daniel has been driving the city bus for almost 12 years. He knows most of the passengers who ride the bus every day. Daniel's wife, Sarah, works as a nurse in the town's small hospital. They have been married for 15 years and have 2 children. Their son, Adam, is 13 years old, and their daughter, Hannah, is 10. Every morning, Sarah prepares breakfast for the kids, helps them get ready for school, and then leaves for her shift at the hospital. One cold Monday morning, Daniel started his regular route. He greeted each passenger with a friendly, "Good morning," or "How are you today?" People in Springfield liked riding Daniel's bus because he always made them feel welcome and safe. That morning, at the 3rd stop, an elderly woman named Mrs. Johnson stepped onto the bus. She held a shopping bag in one hand and a walking cane in the other. Daniel smiled and said, "Good morning, Mrs. Johnson. Cold today, isn't it?" Mrs. Johnson replied, "Yes, it is. Thank you for stopping close. My legs aren't what they used to be." Daniel nodded and said, "Take your time. The seat near the front is free." This is the kind of small kindness that happens every day, but it means a lot. Daniel continued the route, picking up more passengers. a man in a suit going to work, a group of high school students, and a woman holding a box of cupcakes. At every stop, Daniel greeted them, waited patiently, and drove smoothly. Halfway through his route, Daniel noticed something strange. A young boy, around 7 years old, was sitting quietly at the back of the bus. He was alone and looked nervous. Daniel kept checking through his mirror. After 10 minutes, the boy had not moved. When the bus reached a quiet street, Daniel gently pulled over and walked to the back of the bus. "Hey there," Daniel said softly. "What's your name?" The boy looked up and said, "Tyler." Daniel asked, "Hi, Tyler. Are you okay? Where are your parents?" Tyler looked down and said, "I was walking to school. I missed the school bus. My mom told me to wait at home, but I got scared." Daniel nodded, understanding. "You're safe now, Tyler. Don't worry. I'll call the police and help you get home." He took his phone, called the police station, and explained everything. A friendly officer met the bus 10 minutes later and took Tyler home. Later, the boy's mother called the bus company and said, "Please thank the driver. He treated my son kindly and helped him when he was scared." Daniel said later that day, "It's just part of the job. Every person on my bus matters." Now let's pause and learn from this story. First, here are some phrases you heard. Take your time, the seat near the front is free. What's your name? Are you okay? Where are your parents? You're safe now, don't worry. Every person on my bus matters. These are natural phrases. Used to show care, help someone, and speak politely. Try practicing them out loud. Are you okay? Where are your parents? And you're safe now, don't worry. Now let me tell you another story. This one is about a man named Marcus, who lives in a quiet neighborhood in Lincoln, Nebraska. Marcus works as a plumber. That means he fixes water problems in people's homes, like leaking sinks, broken pipes, and clogged drains. He works hard and is known for being honest and quick. One Saturday morning, Marcus received a call from a woman named Mrs. Walker. She sounded worried. "Hello, this is Mrs. Walker. I have water leaking under my kitchen sink. It's spreading to the floor." Marcus replied, "Don't worry, ma'am. I'll be there in 30 minutes. He packed his toolbox, got in his truck, and drove to Mrs. Walker's house. When he arrived, he saw water on the kitchen floor. He turned off the main water valve and started checking the pipes. After 15 minutes, he found the problem. A small pipe had cracked and was leaking. He said, "This is a common issue. I'll replace this pipe and seal it properly. It won't take long." While working, Mrs. Walker offered him a glass of water and said, "You always respond." Marcus smiled and replied, "That's my job. I don't like seeing people stressed because of water leaks." In 45 minutes, everything was fixed. The leak stopped, the floor was dry, and the sink was working again. Marcus gave her the bill and said, "If anything else happens, just call me." Mrs. Walker said, "I always do. You're the best plumber in town." Now let's learn from this story too. Some important and natural English phrases. Don't worry, ma'am. I'll be there in 30 minutes. This is a common issue. I'll replace this pipe and seal it properly. If anything else happens, just call me. You're the best plumber in town. These expressions are useful in service jobs or when helping others. They show responsibility and care. Repeat these sentences. This is a common issue, and I'll be there in 30 minutes. Speaking clearly and kindly like this is important in real-life communication. Now let's go to one more story before we move forward. This one is about Sister Emily, a woman who runs a small grocery store in the city of Tulsa, Oklahoma. Emily opens her store at 7 a.m. and closes at 8 p.m. She sells fresh bread, milk, fruits, vegetables, rice, lentils, eggs, and basic supplies. Many families come to her shop every week. One day during the evening, a man named Mr. Allen came to her store. He looked tired and said, "I just came back from work. Do you still have eggs and bread?" Emily smiled and said, "Yes, we do. Right over here. Would you like anything else?" He picked up a few things and came to the counter. While checking out, Emily noticed he looked worried. She asked, "Is everything okay, Mr. Allen?" He said, "To be honest, I had a hard week. My wife is sick, and I missed 2 days of work. Things are a little tight right now." Emily quietly reduced the total on his bill and said, "I gave you a small discount. I hope things get better soon." Mr. Allen looked surprised. "Thank you. You didn't have to do that," Emily said gently. "We all need help sometimes. May Allah give your wife Shifa and make things easy for your family." Mr. Allen left the shop with a lighter heart. The next week he returned and said, "My wife is better now. Thank you for being kind. Now listen to these useful phrases. Would you like anything else? Is everything okay? Things are a little tight right now. I gave you a small discount. We all need help sometimes." These are natural, respectful sentences used in conversation when talking to someone who might be struggling. Try saying, "We all need help sometimes," and "Would you like anything else?" These phrases are polite and kind. Let's begin in the state of Texas, in a city called San Antonio. In this city, there's a man named Mr. Brian Carter. He is 42 years old and works as a high school teacher. He teaches history to students in grades 9 through 12. Every morning, Mr. Carter wakes up at 6 a.m., prays, and then takes a short walk around his neighborhood before getting ready for school. He eats breakfast with his wife, Karen, and their 2 children, Lisa and Noah. Karen works from home as a bookkeeper, and their kids are both in elementary school. One morning, something special happened at school. Mr. Carter noticed one of his students, Jamal, looked sad and distracted during class. Jamal usually enjoyed history lessons, especially when Mr. Carter told stories about important events like the Civil War or the invention of the telephone. But that day, he didn't say a word. After the class ended, Mr. Carter called Jamal to his desk and asked, "Hey, Jamal, you're usually full of questions. Is everything all right?" Jamal looked down and answered, "No, sir. My father lost his job last week. Things have been really hard at home. We don't have internet right now, and I couldn't finish the assignment." Mr. Carter listened carefully. Then he said, "Thank you for being honest. You don't need to worry about the assignment. I'll give you some time. If you want, you can come here after school, and I'll help you. You can use the school computer, too." Jamal looked surprised. "Really?" Mr. Carter nodded. "Of course. You're a smart student, and I want to help." Jamal smiled for the first time that day. After school, he stayed in the classroom for 1 hour. Mr. Carter helped him finish the assignment, explained some things he didn't understand, and told him, "Never feel ashamed to ask for help. Everyone goes through tough times." That small act of kindness made a big difference. Jamal later said in front of the class, "Mr. Carter, thank you. You helped me when I really needed it." From this story, you can learn a few useful and polite phrases. Is everything all right? Thank you for being honest. Don't worry about the assignment. Everyone goes through tough times. Never feel ashamed to ask for help. Let's begin in the state of Texas, in a city called San Antonio. In this city, there's a man named Mr. Brian Carter. He is 42 years old and works as a high school teacher. He teaches history to students in grades 9 through 12. Every morning, Mr. Carter wakes up at 6 a.m., prays, and then takes a short walk around his neighborhood before getting ready for school. He eats breakfast with his wife Karen and their 2 children, Lisa and Noah. Karen works from home as a bookkeeper, and their kids are both in elementary school. One morning, something special happened at school. Mr. Carter noticed one of his students, Jamal, looked sad and distracted during class. Jamal usually enjoyed history lessons, especially when Mr. Carter told stories about important events like the Civil War or the invention of the telephone. But that day, he didn't say a word. After the class ended, Mr. Carter called Jamal to his desk and asked, "Hey, Jamal, you're usually full of questions. Is everything all right?" Jamal looked down and answered, "No, sir. My father lost his job last week. Things have been really hard at home. We don't have internet right now, and I couldn't finish the assignment." Mr. Carter listened carefully. Then he said, "Thank you for being honest. You don't need to worry about the assignment. I'll give you some time. If you want, you can come here after school, and I'll help you. You can use the school computer too." Jamal looked surprised. "Really?" Mr. Carter nodded. "Of course. You're a smart student and I want to help." Jamal smiled for the first time that day. After school, he stayed in the classroom for 1 hour. Mr. Carter helped him finish the assignment, explained some things he didn't understand, and told him, "Never feel ashamed to ask for help. Everyone goes through tough times." That small act of kindness made a big difference. Jamal later said in front of the class, "Mr. Carter, thank you. You helped me when I really needed it." From this story, you can learn a few useful and polite phrases. Is everything all right? Thank you for being honest. Don't worry about the assignment. Everyone goes through tough times. Never feel ashamed to ask for help. Now let's travel north to a city called Madison in the state of Wisconsin. Here we meet a woman named Rebecca Thompson. Rebecca is 38 years old and owns a small bakery in the city center. Her bakery is called Sweet Bites, and every day she bakes fresh bread, muffins, cookies, and pastries. She opens the shop at 7 a.m. and closes it at 6 p.m. She works hard and always welcomes her customers with a smile. One morning, a man named Andrew walked into the bakery. He looked tired and worried. He was wearing a construction uniform and had a backpack over one shoulder. Rebecca greeted him kindly. "Good morning. How can I help you today?" Andrew said, "Hi, I'm working nearby and forgot my lunch at home. Do you have something simple and warm?" Rebecca nodded. "Of course. I have fresh cheese rolls, a warm chicken sandwich, and soup today." He smiled a little. "The sandwich sounds perfect." Rebecca made the sandwich and handed it to him. As Andrew reached for his wallet, he said, "Oh no, I left my wallet at the site." Rebecca looked at him kindly and said, "Don't worry, you can pay me tomorrow. Eat now and take care of yourself." Andrew was shocked. "Really? You trust me?" Rebecca smiled. "Yes. People need a little kindness, especially on busy days." The next day, Andrew returned, paid for the sandwich, and brought a small gift, a jar of homemade honey. He said, "Thank you for your kindness. I told my wife about you and she said we should bring you something from our farm." Rebecca smiled warmly. "That was very sweet of you. Tell your wife I said thank you." Now let's look at the key English expressions you heard in this story. Do you have something simple and warm? You can pay me tomorrow. Take care of yourself. People need a little kindness. Tell your wife I said thank you. Now we go to a small city called Boise in the state of Idaho. Here lives a man named Michael Jenkins. He is a firefighter. He works with a team that responds to emergencies, mostly fires, but sometimes car accidents or dangerous situations. Michael has been a firefighter for 10 years. His wife, Elena, works as a school secretary. and they have 3 children. Michael works long shifts, sometimes 24 hours at a time, but he always tries to call home during his breaks. One day, Michael's team received a call at 3 a.m. A small apartment building had smoke coming from the roof. They quickly got dressed, grabbed their gear, and drove to the location. When they arrived, there were already a few people outside. A woman shouted, "My husband is still inside. He's on the 2nd floor." Without wasting a second, Michael and his teammate rushed into the building. The smoke was thick and the air was hot. Michael found the man lying on the floor. He lifted him up, carried him downstairs, and brought him outside. The man was coughing, but alive. An ambulance came and the man was taken to the hospital. Later, his wife came to the fire station and said, "You saved my husband's life. I don't have the words to thank you." Michael replied, "It's our duty, but I'm glad he's safe." The next weekend, the family invited Michael and his family for dinner. They wanted to show their appreciation. Michael said, "We're just regular people trying to help others." Some important expressions from this story. Without wasting a second. He's on the 2nd floor. You saved my husband's life. It's our duty. We're just regular people trying to help others. Let's keep going. Now we move to Charleston, South Carolina, a beautiful city near the ocean. Here we meet a woman named Fatima. She runs a small delivery service. She drives a van and delivers packages, groceries, and online orders. Fatima came to the U.S. from Jordan 7 years ago. She worked hard to build her business and now has 2 employees who help her. One day, Fatima received a message from a customer named Mr. Rivera. He was an older man who had trouble walking and used a wheelchair. He sent a message that said, "Could you please bring the groceries inside the house? My back hurts today." Fatima replied, "Of course, Mr. Rivera, I'll be there in 20 minutes. When she arrived, she knocked gently and said, "Hello, it's Fatima with your delivery." Mr. Rivera opened the door and said, "Thank you for coming. You are always so helpful." Fatima brought in the bags and even helped put the milk and fruit in the refrigerator. Mr. Rivera said, "You remind me of my daughter. She lives far away, but you make me feel cared for." Fatima replied, "I'm happy to help. If you ever need anything, just call me." Mr. Rivera smiled and said, "Thank you, my dear. May God bless you." Fatima walked back to her van feeling proud. Helping someone like that made her day better. Let's go over the useful expressions from this story. Could you please bring the groceries inside the house? I'll be there in 20 minutes. You make me feel cared for. If you ever need anything, just call me. May God bless you. These are real, simple, and respectful ways to speak in everyday life. You can use them when helping someone or showing kindness. Would you like me to continue with more real-life examples and everyday English stories? Now we go to a peaceful town in the state of Ohio. It's called Dayton. In this town lives a couple, Mr. David and Mrs. Emily Richardson. David works as a mechanic and Emily works part-time at a local bakery. They have 3 children, 2 boys, Thomas and Ethan, and a baby girl named Hannah. Every Saturday, the family spends time together doing something simple like cleaning the house, doing grocery shopping, or taking a walk in the park. One Saturday, David was fixing their old family car in the driveway. Thomas, who's 10 years old, was helping him. David said, "Thomas, can you pass me the wrench?" Thomas looked in the toolbox and said, "Is this the right one, Dad?" David smiled. "Yes, that's perfect. You're learning fast." While they were working, their neighbor Mr. Peterson walked by. He's an older man who lives alone since his wife passed away. David waved and said, "Good morning, Mr. Peterson. How are you today?" Mr. Peterson replied, "Morning, David. My car won't start again. I was just about to call the repair shop." David wiped his hands and said, "I can take a look for you. If it's something simple, I'll fix it." Mr. Peterson looked relieved and said, "Are you sure? I don't want to bother you." David replied, "You're not bothering me at all. Let's check it out." Thomas followed them to Mr. Peterson's driveway. David opened the hood and started looking at the engine. After 10 minutes, he found the problem, a loose cable. He tightened it and tried starting the car. It worked right away. Mr. Peterson said, "You're amazing, David. You saved me a lot of money." David smiled and said, "No problem at all. You're our neighbor. We help each other." Thomas looked proud and said, "Dad is really good at fixing things." Mr. Peterson laughed and said, "And you're a good helper too, young man." Now let's look at the useful expressions in this story. Can you pass me the wrench? You're learning fast. Are you sure? I don't want to bother you. You're our neighbor. Now let's travel to the state of North Carolina, to a town called Greensboro. In this town lives a woman named Lisa Daniels. She is 47 years old and works as a nurse at a small clinic. She has 2 sons, Brandon and Matthew, and her husband. Eric is a school bus driver. Lisa's days are busy, but she always takes time to care for others. One day at the clinic, a young woman named Rachel came in with her baby daughter. Rachel looked tired and worried. Lisa greeted her and said, "Good afternoon. What brings you in today?" Rachel replied, "My baby has a fever. She hasn't been sleeping well." Lisa smiled gently and said, "Let's take a look. We'll check her temperature and make sure she's okay." As Lisa worked, she asked, "How are you doing, Rachel? Are you getting enough rest?" Rachel sighed, "Not really. It's just me and the baby now. My husband is deployed overseas." Lisa nodded with understanding. "That must be hard, but you're doing a great job. I can see how much you care." Rachel looked emotional and said, "Thank you. I really needed to hear that today." After examining the baby, Lisa said, "She has a mild fever, but it's not serious. I'll give you some advice and medicine. You're doing everything right." Rachel smiled and said, "Thank you so much. I was scared, but now I feel more confident." Lisa replied, "Anytime you need help or just someone to talk to, we're here." Let's review the useful expressions from this story. What brings you in today? Let's take a look. Are you getting enough rest? You're doing everything right. Anytime you need help, we're here. Next, let's go west to Denver, Colorado. In this city lives a man named Chris Morgan. Chris is 33 years old and works as a delivery driver for a furniture store. He enjoys driving around the city, meeting customers, and delivering items to their homes. His wife, Olivia, works as a customer service agent, and they have a baby boy named Elijah. One morning, Chris had a long list of deliveries. One of the deliveries was a large wooden dining table for a woman named Mrs. Allen. She lives in a 2-story house and ordered the table for her big family dinners. When Chris arrived, he knocked on the door and said, "Good morning, I'm here, with your table delivery." Mrs. Allen opened the door and smiled. "Yes, I've been waiting for it. Please come in." Chris entered and said, "Where would you like me to place it?" She replied, "In the dining room, please. It's the first door on the right." Chris carefully carried the table inside, and then he said, "This is a solid table. It will last you a long time." Mrs. Allen smiled and said, "Thank you. I really appreciate your help." As Chris turned to leave, Mrs. Allen said, "Would you like a bottle of water before you go?" Chris smiled and said, "That would be great. Thank you." She brought him a bottle of cold water and said, "You people work hard. I hope you have a safe day." Chris replied, "Thank you, ma'am. I'll remember your kindness. Here are some helpful phrases from this situation. Where would you like me to place it? It's the first door on the right. This is a solid table. Would you like a bottle of water before you go? I'll remember your kindness." Let's continue now to the state of Georgia in a town called Macon. In this town, there's a man named Anthony Miller. He runs a small hardware store that sells tools, paint, and building materials. Anthony took over the store from his father, who opened it 30 years ago. His wife, Rachel, helps with accounting, and their daughter, Mia, is in high school. One rainy afternoon, a man named Jordan entered the shop. He looked like he was in a rush. Anthony said, "Welcome in. What are you looking for today?" Jordan replied, "I need a flashlight and some batteries. The power just went out at our house." Anthony walked to the shelf and picked out a strong flashlight. "This one is good. It's bright and long-lasting." Jordan nodded. "Perfect. I also need some candles, just in case." Anthony grabbed a box of candles and said, "Here you go. Anything else?" Jordan looked around and said, "Actually, do you sell small gas stoves?" Anthony said, "Yes, we do. Come this way." After finding everything, Jordan said, "Thank you. You've got everything I needed." Anthony replied, "We try to be ready for anything. Stay safe during the storm." Jordan smiled and said, "Thanks again. I'll tell my wife we were lucky to find your shop." Helpful expressions from this story. What are you looking for today? The power just went out at our house, just in case. Anything else? Let's continue. Now we travel to the state of Texas. In a small city called Lubbock, there's a family that lives a quiet and steady life. The father, Mr. Jonathan Reed, is a school principal. His wife, Mrs. Amanda Reed, is a homemaker and also runs a small online store where she sells handmade kitchen towels and aprons. They have 2 daughters, Sophia, who is 13, and Grace, who is 9. One weekday morning, Jonathan was getting ready for work. As he drank his coffee, he noticed that Sophia looked worried while packing her school bag. He asked, "Sophia, is something wrong?" She paused and said, "I forgot that we have a science presentation today. I don't think I'm ready." Amanda walked in from the kitchen holding a plate of toast and said, "You've been working on that for days. I'm sure you're more ready than you think." Jonathan sat next to Sophia and said, "Just speak clearly, take a deep breath, and explain your project like you're telling a story. You'll do great." Sophia smiled slightly and said, "Okay, I'll try my best." That afternoon, when Sophia came back from school, she ran into the house with a big smile. Amanda asked, "How did it go?" Sophia shouted, "I got an A." The teacher said my project was the best in the class. Amanda hugged her and said, "I'm proud of you, sweetheart." Jonathan, who had just arrived home, heard the news and said, "That's fantastic. See what happens when you believe in yourself?" Grace clapped and said, "Yay, my sister is a science star." Let's look at some useful expressions from this story. Is something wrong? You've been working on that for days. Speak clearly. Take a deep breath. I'm proud of you. See what happens when you believe in yourself? Now let's move to the state of Michigan, in the city of Grand Rapids. Here we meet a man named Eric Bennett. Eric works as a delivery driver for a farm-to-home vegetable service. Every day, he loads his truck early in the morning and drives around town delivering fresh fruits and vegetables to families. 1. Morning. As he was delivering a box to a family, he noticed a note taped to the front door. It said, "We are sick and cannot come to the door. Please leave the box by the steps. Thank you." Eric placed the box gently on the steps, but then he thought for a moment. He took out a pen and wrote a note on the back of his receipt. I hope you feel better soon. I left your delivery where you asked. If you need help, just call us. A week later, Eric returned to deliver again. This time the door opened and a woman stepped out holding a cup of tea. She said, "You must be Eric. Thank you so much for your kind note last week. We had the flu and couldn't even move around." Eric replied, "I'm glad you're all feeling better now. Just doing my job." The woman smiled and said, "Not everyone would be so thoughtful. It meant a lot to us." Eric waved and said, "Take care. I'll see you next week." Useful expressions from this story. We are sick and cannot come to the door. Please leave the box by the steps. I hope you feel better soon. If you need help, just call us. It meant a lot to us. Now, let's go to Kansas City, Missouri. In this city, there's a woman named Danielle Parker. She runs a small cleaning service and helps many elderly people keep their homes neat and tidy. Her husband, James, works as a bus driver, and they have one teenage son named Caleb. One day, Danielle went to clean the house of an elderly couple, Mr. and Mrs. Walters. They had been married for 52 years and always enjoyed Danielle's visits because she was kind, respectful, and cheerful. As she cleaned the kitchen, Mrs. Walters said, "Danielle, can you help me write a note for my grandson? He just graduated from college." Danielle replied, "Of course. What would you like to say?" Mrs. Walters said slowly, "Tell him we are proud of him and we hope he uses his knowledge to help others." Danielle sat at the dining table and wrote the note carefully. Then she handed it to Mrs. Walters to read. Mrs. Walters smiled and said, "It's perfect. Thank you, dear." Then Mr. Walters chuckled and said, "If our daughter were still here, she would say Danielle writes better than we do." They all laughed, and Danielle said, "Writing comes with practice. I'll be happy to help anytime." After finishing her work, Danielle checked the living room, fluffed the pillows, and said goodbye. Mrs. Walters replied, "Come back soon. You bring joy into our home." Let's review some useful phrases. Can you help me write a note? We are proud of him. Use his knowledge to help others. You bring joy into our home. Writing comes with practice. In the city of Orlando, there lives a man named Tom Richards. Tom is a mechanic, and he runs a small auto repair shop. His wife, Julia, works as a nurse at a local hospital, and they have 2 children, Ethan, who is 15, and Emma, who is 10. The family enjoys spending their weekends at the beach, and they love to have family picnics. One Saturday morning, Tom was fixing an old truck in his garage when Ethan came running in, holding his bicycle. "Dad, my bike's tire is flat. Can you fix it?" Ethan asked. Tom wiped his hands on a rag and said, "Sure, let me take a look." He inspected the bike and said, "Looks like the inner tube is punctured. I can replace it. It'll only take a few minutes." Ethan said, "Thanks, Dad. I have a race later today and I really need my bike." Tom smiled and said, "You're welcome, but remember, always check your bike before you race. Make sure everything's working well." As Tom worked on the bike, Emma came outside and said, "I want to race too, Dad." Tom laughed and said, "You're a little young for racing, Emma, but we can go to the park and practice together." Later that day, after Tom had fixed the bike, he and the family went to the park. Ethan raced around while Tom and Emma practiced riding together. Here are some useful phrases from this story. Can you fix it? Looks like the inner tube is punctured. Make sure everything's working well. You're a little young for racing. We can practice together. Next, we'll head to Seattle, Washington. In this city, there's a woman named Rachel Miller. Rachel is a professional photographer, and she enjoys capturing nature's beauty, especially during the rainy season, which is common in Seattle. Her husband Daniel works as a software developer, and they have a young son, Lucas, who loves drawing. One rainy afternoon, Rachel was out in the woods taking photos when she noticed a couple of hikers walking by. The man seemed a little upset, so Rachel decided to approach them. "Hi, are you okay?" she asked. The woman looked at Rachel and said, "We got lost, and now we're not sure how to get back to the trailhead." Rachel smiled and said, "I've been on these trails many times. Follow me. I'll help you get back." As they walked, Rachel chatted with them, telling them about the different plants and animals that lived in the area. They were fascinated by her knowledge. When they finally reached the trailhead, the man said, "Thank you so much. You saved us from getting even more lost." Rachel waved and said, "No problem. It's easy to get lost out here, especially in the rain." When Rachel returned home, Daniel asked, "How was your shoot?" Rachel smiled and said, "I didn't just take photos today. I helped some hikers find their way back. It was a good day. Here are some helpful phrases. Are you okay? We got lost. I'll help you get back. You saved us from getting more lost. It's easy to get lost out here." Now let's head to the state of Colorado, where we meet a man named Luke Stevens. Luke is an avid mountain climber who spends most of his weekends exploring the rocky peaks of Colorado's mountains. His wife, Mary, is a teacher, and they have 2 daughters, Olivia and Mia. They live in a small cabin on the outskirts of Denver. One Saturday, Luke decided to take his daughters on a hike to a nearby mountain. As they reached the base of the mountain, Olivia said, "Dad, do we really have to climb all the way up there?" Luke smiled and said, "It's not about the destination, Olivia. It's about the journey and the views along the way." Mia, who was younger, said, "I want to climb to the top too." Luke laughed and said, "We'll take it slow. I'll show you how to use your hands for balance, and we'll stop for breaks." As they climbed, Luke pointed out different types of trees and animals they saw along the way. The higher they climbed, the more beautiful the view became. When they finally reached the top, Olivia said, "Wow, this is amazing." Luke nodded and said, "See? It's always worth it to keep going, even when it seems tough." On their way down, Mia said, "I want to climb higher next time." Luke smiled and said, "I think you're ready for an even bigger mountain. Here are some expressions from this story. Do we really have to climb all the way up there? It's about the journey and the views along the way. We'll take it slow. It's always worth it to keep going. I think you're ready for an even bigger mountain." Now let's travel to the state of South Carolina, where we meet a woman named Lisa Collins. Lisa is a chef who owns a small restaurant in Charleston. She and her husband, Mark, run the business together. They have 2 sons, Tyler and Jake, who help out at the restaurant after school. One afternoon, Lisa received a call from a regular customer, Mr. Anderson, who had a special request. "Lisa, I'm having some friends over for dinner tomorrow and I need your help. Can you prepare something special?" Lisa smiled and said, "Of course. What do you have in mind?" Mr. Anderson replied, "Something with shrimp. My friends love seafood and I want to impress them." Lisa thought for a moment and said, "I have just the thing. I'll prepare shrimp and grits with a special sauce. It's a classic Southern dish." The next day, Lisa spent the afternoon preparing the meal. When Mr. Anderson and his friends arrived at the restaurant, he said, "Lisa, this looks amazing. You never disappoint." Later, when the meal was finished, Mr. Anderson thanked Lisa and said, "You're a true expert in the kitchen. This was the best shrimp I've ever had." Lisa smiled and said, "Thank you, Mr. Anderson. It's always a pleasure to cook for you." Here are some useful phrases from this story. Can you prepare something special? Something with shrimp. You never disappoint. You're a true expert in the kitchen. It's always a pleasure to cook. For you. Next, let's visit New York City, where we meet a man named Ryan Carter. Ryan works as a lawyer in Manhattan, but he also has a passion for running marathons. His wife, Elizabeth, works in finance, and they have one daughter, Lily, who is in middle school. One morning, Ryan woke up early to prepare for a marathon he was running later that day. Elizabeth, who was already awake, said, "Good luck today, Ryan. I know you've been training hard." Ryan smiled and said, "Thanks, Elizabeth. I'm nervous, but I've been practicing for months." After the marathon, Ryan crossed the finish line, exhausted but happy. Elizabeth was waiting for him at the finish line with Lily. "Great job, Dad!" Lily shouted. Ryan grinned and said, "I couldn't have done it without all the support from you two." Elizabeth hugged him and said, "We're so proud of you." Ryan replied, "It's not just about winning. It's about pushing yourself and never giving up." Here are some key phrases from this story. Good luck today, Ryan. I've been training hard. I couldn't have done it without you two. It's about pushing yourself, never giving up.